Your world is not what it seems. Ansary, Outside the Box.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Outside the Box. Coming to you Wednesday, February 24th, 2010, at least at the moment of taping. Some of you are watching this on the 25th day of February 2010, Thursday, the normal time slot, which is also my 30th birthday, by the way. And so while we're not with you live today, this is a fresh show, and we'll talk about some fresh topics, and of course, talk about some things in great detail that we haven't talked about for a while. But I'm pleased that I've been able to be here for 5 years at Portland Community Media, and we're actually going to be here throughout the year, which is good news. Next year, we really don't know at this point. We've talked about that before, some of the economic problems that PCM is facing. Without getting into all that stuff, I'm grateful that I've had the time that I have had the past 5 years. Talk about a wide variety of things. We've talked about 9/11. We've talked about the police state that's being built up around us, haven't we? We've talked about the dangers of genetically modified food, cell phones, other hazards to your health. Why all these things do we talk about so much? Why have I chosen to use Access TV for this particular purpose instead of doing meditation sessions and oming sessions? All things that are good, all things that have their own merit. Why haven't I followed in suit and followed in the footsteps of others in terms of how they relate to the problems of the world? It's because it's a difference of perspective. What you've seen here over the course of the last 5 years has been my own utilization of my own free speech. Okay, it's been basically my own perspective. Doesn't mean it's the complete truth on a number of things taking place on the planet. In the last 5 years, we've had the ability to bring on a lot of different guests that normally don't get on the mainstream media. They don't get on mainstream radio because they're a threat, because of what they say is considered to be too controversial. Well, nothing's really too controversial on this particular show. What we're concerned with on the show is the issues that affect you. And the reality is that's what we've talked about the last couple of years. The importance of understanding the false flag terror attacks that have taken place, that have shaped a number of wars that have taken place over the course of the last century, including prior to that, but specifically September 11th, 2001. And this is a year where a lot of things are going to change. Economically, militarily, socially, and, a lot of people know what I'm talking about. A lot of you out there know what I'm talking about, what I've tried to warn you about for a long time, why I've chosen to put so much, literally, sweat and tears into this program, to try to wake people up, shake them awake. But now we're reaching this point where we're going into chartered territories where a lot of us have never been. For a lot of us, this is our first time going into a full-blown, on steroids, police state. A high-tech one beyond Adolf Hitler's wildest dreams. Technology's there, DNA databases. We have FEMA camps we have even empty jails here in Oregon, like Wapato, that are just sitting there empty. And we know in a big disaster, the federal government would make use of those facilities. We know we live in a different world now, and we have to take a look at what we know about what's coming, the threats, the dangers ahead, and actually act on those concerns in a peaceful, appropriate manner. But time is of the essence. I can scream and yell and shout for hours and hours and hours. It's not going to change anything unless you're ready for a change. I'm willing to bet a very large majority of the audience is going through a number of challenges. That's why some of you can relate to some of the things that I'm talking about. But we're entering a pattern in our society now where people aren't ready to deal with a day where there's no funding to come for these basic necessities of life. Food, water, shelter, things of that nature. A lot of people are dependent on the state and the federal government for their own livelihood, if you will, to continue. And I find that to be sick. And we have to find our way out of the door, or find our way to the door, out of the situation, out of this house that's on fire. We have to take this information that we have right now at our fingertips and actually do something with it. And that's for you to figure out. But we know things are coming. And I'm more concerned about basic survival, living in a livable community, being around people that are somewhat happy. I'm more concerned with those things. being independent of the grid than I am about the CIA coming to kill me, frankly. I'm more concerned about those things, those people that didn't get prepared ahead of time that will end up robbing other people with the guns and ammunition they've been storing this whole time. I'm more concerned with things like that than the federal government coming after me personally. And so for some of you out there that are concerned, about getting involved in anything or writing an email, making a phone call, there's really no point for you to think you're that important and that you're that effective at changing things that they're going to come looking for you, or that they're going to put you on a list, or that they have room for you. A lot of that stuff is taking place. 1 in 300 Americans really are on the terror watch list, and this is not new data. This is not new information. Certain Americans are being targeted, and yes, I'm in that category. I have chosen through my faith in a protecting force to keep going. That's what I rely on. I don't tell you that's what you have to believe, that you're here for a reason, that there's a reason some people that have been speaking out about these things for years are not dead. I don't have to do that. I have nothing to gain from that. I can share with you that I have a different perspective on what's taking place. There's a lot of us out there that know what's going on. There's a reason why we're not dead. It doesn't really suit their interest to go around assassinating someone every time they blog something. If they do that, how are they able to convince the masses out there they live in some kind of a free society, some kind of a democracy? When it's not democracy, it's just two wolves and a sheep decide on what they're going to have for dinner, but you know that already. But a lot of people are swept up in the packaging of American Idol and the G.I. Joe movie that came out, and Transformers, and UFC, and the latest Blazer game, and it goes on and on and on, and the latest Twilight movie. Don't get me started on that. And you begin to feel very, very dizzy. It feels like you're so free. There are so many McDonald's restaurants in our society, and Burger Kings, and Taco Bells, and Safeways, and Fred Meyers, and Walmarts, and it's just so wonderful. And we have the Nazi Bank, we have Chase Manhattan, used to be Washington Mutual, but people are so dumbed down now they actually call it WAMU. I mean, they think that we've entered this free Disneyland utopia, but it's anything but. Those are just the decorations that are covering the barbed wire. We can feel this cage, and albeit a transparent one, it's becoming more obvious by the day as more and more of our children fall through the cracks of the system and end up hurting themselves on the teeth of the beast that is seeking to devour them. When you read about a school in the paper that gives all the children laptops so they can be spied on, when you read about a school that puts cameras in the school bathroom so they can watch their activity, when you read about a DNA database that's being set up internationally that collects our information, there's other reports that have come out of the state of Texas this week where the U.S. Army is taking DNA samples, DNA code sequences from the hospitals, and they're doing God knows what with this technology that they have access to. The children, the next generation, are being inserted completely into this machine, into this matrix, and people are running around with the faith, almost a religious faith, that everything's going to be A-okay, the machine loves us, that we need the machine to exist. Otherwise, there would be chaos.